Welcome to Pleasure in the Pause, a podcast dedicated to empowering midlife women to connect with their bodies, pleasure, and power in perimenopause, menopause, and beyond. I am your host, Gabriella Espinosa. Each week, I sit down with leading medical experts, thought leaders, and trailblazers for bold, thought-provoking conversations that educate, inspire, and challenge the myths we've been taught about our bodies, aging, and sexuality. I also share solo episodes with evidence-based insights and real talk to help you feel informed, supported, and in charge of your health and pleasure in this season of life. Because your pleasure matters in and out of the bedroom. So take a deep breath, settle into your body, and let's begin. Hello, beautiful listeners. Welcome back to Pleasure in the Pause. Today's conversation is about what happens when a woman reaches midlife, listens closely to her own body, and decides to follow that knowing, not just personally, but professionally, to help remind all women how amazing our bodies truly are. My guest today is Amy St. Germain, the founder of Oboo, a pleasure-forward sexual wellness brand designed with midlife bodies in mind. After more than 25 years in the corporate world, Amy made the pivot into entrepreneurship, guided by her own experience and a deep desire to support women in staying connected to pleasure, curiosity, and confidence in this season of life. And her work is already being recognized. Just a year and a half after launching Oboo, Amy's Oboo Whoosh Warming Wand received a Menopause Award from Oprah Daily, a meaningful acknowledgement that's helping amplify her mission and reach even more women. In this episode, we talk about what it really looks like to build a midlife sexual wellness brand, the courage it takes to pivot, the lessons Amy has learned by listening closely to women, and why pleasure doesn't disappear as our bodies change. It evolves. And because this episode is landing during Valentine's week, we're celebrating with a special giveaway, one of Oboo's best-selling pleasure tools. I'll share all the details a little later in the episode, or you can find them in the show notes. Let's get into my conversation with Amy St. Germain. Welcome, Amy. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Hi, Gabriella. Thank you for having me. I'm excited for it too, and so happy to meet you.
We've been fangirling each other over on Instagram for a while now. And when I reached out asking if you'd donate one of your fabulous products to an event I was hosting, you didn't hesitate. You were a full body yes. And you so generously sent over, I think it was 30 Oboo palm massagers, which you have there, which we'll definitely talk about. And that generosity told me everything I need to know about your heart and your mission to spread more pleasure in the world. We're right on the same page. So let's get down to business, the business of pleasure. And what perfect timing. We're recording this right around Valentine's Day, which feels so fitting because today we're talking about the most important love story you'll ever have, the one with yourself. Amy, let's have our audience hear your story. You left a 25-year corporate career at age 50 to start Oboo, and that's not a small pivot. That's a complete reinvention, starting a sexual wellness company. So tell me, what was your personal wake-up call? What made you realize this was the work you needed to do?
It was a big deal because I was in a very comfortable job and I had 3 girls going to college and I wasn't feeling it anymore. And I really do attribute this change in my life to perimenopause. And
Yeah.
that's what's so cool about it because perimenopause gets such a bad rap, right? Like it really makes us feel all these things that we don't even know that we're about to feel. And it's very confusing. And for me, I was spiraling downward and downward. Like I didn't know what was happening with me. My personality changed. Everything was changing. And I was unhappy. And I think also though, I was finally realizing like, I'm not going to put up with all this stuff anymore. I'm not going to continue doing what I'm supposed to do or what I thought I was supposed to do. And I'm going to go ahead and take a chance on me. So I
Mm.
was really trying to figure out what it is that I wanted to do. And honestly, the idea of getting another job put this pit in my stomach that I knew that wasn't right. And you talk about that full body yes, I really rely on that. And so I knew I couldn't do that. One morning I woke up and I was like, shoot, I have all the skills. I could start my own company. And that was the full body yes. Like, oh,
Mm.
yeah, that's what I can do. And then I had to figure out what that was. For me, I've always enjoyed pleasure. I've always enjoyed self pleasure and pleasure with a partner. And it was a way during that time for me to take the stress off, to take the anxiety off. And honestly, I wasn't feeling great about myself. I had gained all the weight that you hear about with perimenopause, and I wasn't feeling wonderful in my body, but I knew I could still do that to release all this anxiety and the pressure. Then I came across the stat that said 50% of women who are 50 or older stop having sex or being intimate altogether.
Mhm.
And I was like, heck no, this can't be. We've got at least 30 years left, probably, for most of us, right? And so that was the idea. I'm going to start a sexual wellness company for women in midlife, where it's created just for us, for how our bodies are changing, and to get women to recognize how amazing their bodies are at this age in any age. We are built with all these amazing parts, and we just need to tap into them and we can feel the joy again. So that's why.
Oh my gosh, you're speaking my language. I love that story. And what I hear from you is that you really, and maybe it was because you had a self pleasure practice, and we'll talk about the benefits of self pleasure
Mhm.
practice, that it really attunes you to your body, to those whispers that our
Mhm.
bodies are constantly sending us. And you listened, you tuned in and you listened to what is it that you want to do in this next phase of life. Your body was telling you, you know what, this corporate career is not for me anymore. I feel like I need to do something else. It's not bringing me joy. It's not bringing me pleasure. And you really tuned in and asked, what is it that I want to do? What is my heart's desire? Wow, bringing more pleasure into the world. And yeah, letting women understand that midlife doesn't mean the end of pleasure. That's the
Mhm.
biggest myth I try to bust on this podcast
Mhm.
every single day. So thank you. Thank you so much for joining that mission.
Mhm.
There
Mhm.
aren't very many of us, but we need each other. The more, the better. There's so much space here to keep spreading that mission of empowering women to reclaim their pleasure in midlife, because it's the beginning of a new chapter for us. I want to ask you about Oboo, your company, starting a company that creates vibrators and talks openly about female pleasure. That really takes courage. Did you feel you needed to overcome anything internally to make that leap? What did people in your life say when you told them that's what you were going to do?
Well, I mentioned those 3 girls in college, right? I have 2 more in high school too. My
Why? So
kids
you have
were
five girls.
4
Oh my,
girls, 1 boy.
four girls, one boy. Okay,
Gonna
wow.
be a great partner to somebody someday. They were like, "You're doing what?"
So you told them, you shared with them first, with your kids.
Yes,
Wow.
and the college girls actually thought it was pretty awesome. My husband was like, "Well, all right." He was awesome about it too, which really helped for me to take the leap, right? And if I didn't have his support, it would have been very hard for me to do. But boy, I learned a lot along the way. I mean, I guess it's good to not ask what people think, because I can't imagine what maybe some of the parents of my children think, but I haven't heard anything bad because I don't
Mhm.
know, I guess. For the most part, people are really supportive. And when I talk about how awesome our bodies are. And we were just taught wrong. We were taught to poo poo them like our whole lives. And if we flip that around and say, this body is awesome, it can do so many things for us, so many wonderful things for us, and listen to it, like you said, people light up. People light up and are like, heck yeah. And then they're buying products to make them feel good. And that makes me feel so good. All I want to do is to help women feel amazing so
Oh,
that they can go spread that. And
mm.
that's what we can do. That's what we can do in this group and help people spread and spread the joy that we can bring. So, yeah, there's been hiccups. My parents were like, what the heck? But then when I gave my mom one, the ooh that you got, she was like, Amy, I never knew. And she's 80.
Oh my goodness. You gifted your mother one of the palm massager, the Oud
Yes.
palm massager. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Really?
Mhm.
And she tried it out.
Oh, yeah, she did. She'll probably hate me saying this.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the benefits of vibrator use. I've talked about it here on the podcast before, but your
Mhm.
mission is so beautifully clear, helping women in midlife have more pleasure, enjoy the miracle that is their body. You're going to create ripples of pleasure throughout the world. And that's such an important mission to have. Let's get to the products themselves. When you started designing the products, did you see a particular gap that you were trying to fill? What wasn't working about what was already available for women?
Well, number one, there's so much available. So if somebody's trying to tap back in, as I like to say, there's so much overwhelm, especially now in perimenopause and menopause. There's so much overwhelm anyway, right? So I wanted to create just enough. So that's one of the pillars that I'm standing on. We have 8 products. I collected my friends, some friends from one end of the spectrum who never have sex, have no interest in it. Some friends who can't get enough, and every one of us in between. And I ordered a slew of products for all of us to try to really understand what this one person over here wanted versus what this one person over here
Mm.
wanted. And I was able to create kind of the spectrum of just what we need without the overwhelm. So, 80% of women only can reach orgasm through clitoral pleasure. I needed to have enough tools for the external clitoral pleasure to satisfy our women. Also, as we get older, things start to dry out, right? We all know about this and how important blood flow is down in our vagina, in our vulvas. And so I found tools that help with that. They have heat elements to them, so they warm up quite a bit to help with that blood flow. Incidentally, using vibrators alone help with blood flow. It is a good health practice for women to keep things moving, keep your blood flow going down there so that dryness can stay at bay.
I've talked about that here on the podcast before, that it is so much about that blood flow, which when you're moving through menopause and estrogen declines, sensitivity decreases, it is due to that lack of blood flow. It is also
Mhm.
due to the thinning tissue because that estrogen leads to loss of collagen to the tissue area. But research shows, right, that even just 5 to 10 minutes of gentle external vibration a few times a week can improve pelvic floor health, reduce urinary issues, ease dryness, all without even needing to get to that end goal of orgasm. So you don't have to go. I always say, you don't have to go for that. Oh, it's nice. It's a nice to have. But even if you're just doing it for health,
Mhm.
and sexual health and pleasure are part of your overall health and well being. So you're creating essential health tools, I feel.
Yes.
It's not about fixing something that's broken, right? We're
Oh,
talking about supporting our bodies through a natural transition. And I think that's what all your beautiful tools do. And I want to talk about your product line. One thing that I notice about Oboo is the intentional design. Can you walk us through some of
Yeah,
them?
I would be so happy to. All of our products come in these cute little pouches, different pouches
Mhm.
for every product. This one here is the Smooch.
I love the playful names, the fun
Mhm.
pastel colors. I mean, they don't look intimidating. They don't look threatening. They look fun and inviting. And I love the whole aesthetic feels.
That was totally on purpose
Yeah.
because a lot of women don't masturbate, don't touch themselves, and feel very intimidated in doing so. And again, if you go to a site that has all sorts of things, that's very intimidating. So I wanted this to be a welcoming place to come and find just what you need and know that it can be playful and fun. And it doesn't have to be over the top sexy for you to
Mhm.
still have fun with yourself. So that's why it looks how it looks. If you go to the site, you'll see that. And there's a lot of support there in getting you to feel yourself again. So this one is our bestseller. Hopefully you guys can see it. It is called the Smooch, and it's one of the ones that has the sonic wave vibration. For this, you could just put it near your clitoris. You don't even have to put it right on it, and you can still feel it. And it really does make things happen very quickly. So you just mentioned 5 minutes. I call that an Oboo break. Go have your 5 minute Oboo break and you can stimulate your blood flow and you can enjoy it because this one will tap right in and get you moving.
So can you explain what? So it's sonic waves. It's not
Mhm.
vibration.
It's not. So you hold it for 2 seconds to turn it on, and then
Mhm.
it has 8 different settings that all get increasingly stronger. So there's none of the weird tap, 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 tap buzzes or anything like that with this one. It's just increasingly stronger. And you could feel it like it's almost like if you put your finger on the end of a vacuum cleaner, but it has a pulsating feel. And it really helps, a lot of people think it kind of stimulates or is like oral sex. So it would feel maybe a little bit more like that, but also it hits the spot in the exact right spot. So that's the Smooch. And that one is one of our most popular ones. The one that I sent to you is called Ooh. One of the things you'll notice, all of our products have the double O in the name. We thought that
Yeah.
was super fun. And this is also a clitoral vibrator that you can hold in your palm like this
Yeah.
and use it just on your clitoris. It works really nicely for yourself, but also for partner sex, because a lot of times during partner sex, we need some clitoral stimulation too. And this one works nicely in between.
And I want to pause there for a moment because I've talked about this on the show. We want to stimulate the whole vulval area, right? So the clitoris, which is the little bulb,
Mhm.
and then the clitoris has legs called crura, which extend
Mm.
all the way down through the outer and inner lips down to the perineum, nerve endings that move down towards the anal passage,
Yes.
right? And what I love about the palm massager is that imagine is the vulva. My palm is my vulva. The palm massager fits entirely over the whole
Mhm.
vulva. So you're not only and then it has that little tip. So you're not only
Mhm.
stimulating the tip,
Yeah.
the clitoris, the head of the clitoris, you're stimulating those outer lips, those
Mhm.
inner lips down to the perineum, which when you stimulate that whole vulval area, brings all of that blood flow, creates that engorgement of the clitoris so that you feel ready. If you want to go there, if you're with a partner, you feel ready for penetration. Because I always say it's important to feel ready. So many women bypass their signals. And I think that's why, we have this orgasm gap. They move towards penetrative sex to please the partner when they're not ready. And that whole process of engorgement, of bringing blood flow to the area, it takes a little, I mean, you say it can take 5 minutes, but sometimes it takes longer for some women. It can take anywhere from
Mhm.
15, 20, 30 minutes, but it's important to take time to make that happen, to make that blood flow, create that sort of swelling, engorgement so that you're ready for a deeper, more internal pleasure.
Honestly, sometimes I'll say we both work from home, and I'll say to my husband, "Hey, I'm gonna go have pregame.
Ah,
Come in about 10 minutes later."
that's such a fun way of doing it. Yeah, because I think there's also that idea of like, yeah, that pregame takes time, right? And
Mhm.
so a lot of women will say, "Oh my gosh, I know this is my situation." For the longest time, it was like, "Oh my gosh, this is going to take too long." So then you forfeit your pleasure and you
Yeah,
just,
we
okay,
all do.
we do.
And it's
And
all
that,
about performance, right? Like, we wanna perform for them, and again, I think that's how we were taught as well. We weren't taught how to self-pleasure, we weren't even taught about our body parts, and you just naming those legs, I didn't even know that. I can't believe it. And we're taught that also that it's supposed to feel good,
yeah.
and so many of us have faked it for so long. We don't want to be different, and we want to make sure we're pleasuring our partner, and maybe we're trying to convince ourselves that this is what feels good, even
Mhm.
though maybe it doesn't. I've thought about that a lot, and
Yeah.
for me, I was taught through my first boyfriends, and how did they know any better than I knew,
I
right?
know, exactly. How are they supposed to know? And I love that concept of your pregame and telling your husband, okay, it's pregame time for me, because then he understands. Yes,
Mhm.
she needs time to get warmed up, to get aroused. And I love that you're taking pleasure into your own hands. And literally, sometimes we can put too much pressure on our partners to get it right. And they may
Right.
not be doing it right. But yeah, you're taking ownership of your pleasure. And oh my gosh, Amy, once you get that pregame going and you're hanging out in that pregame state of arousal, then when your partner comes into the joins you, it just takes things to a whole different level. You're ready and it just feels so much better.
It feels so much better, and you feel so much more connected to your partner.
Exactly,
Oh,
exactly. Oh my God, I'm
so
getting so excited just talking about this. So you know what, Amy, I wanted to ask you something. You know, I love the whole aesthetic, playful feel of your line and that it feels so inviting, but so many women still carry shame around sexual pleasure and maybe they don't feel as comfortable as you and I talking about it, right?
mhm.
Especially around self-pleasure. How do you use your product design, your philosophy, the education on your blogs, or even your branding to help women break through that shame and prioritize their pleasure? Because as I mentioned before, sexual health is pleasure and pleasure is health, right?
Mhm. It's not an easy task to overcome. Like, for me trying to convince people to masturbate, number 1, it's really hard to even talk about it online, you know that. And also it's a bigger hurdle, right? I feel like the more people like you and me can talk about it and people can see we're just regular girls. We're not over the top girls, right? We're just regular people figuring out what feels really good. I think the more that we can talk about it and get others to talk about it, the more that more women will try it. Also, going back to the health part of it, Gabriella, and for women to really understand that it makes a big difference for their health. And why not have fun while
Mm.
you're helping your health? Why not? Like, you deserve it. And it's not selfish to do so, I guess, is another thing. I think a lot of people think it's selfish. And we always, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people kind of poo poo the man who's masturbating and act like that's bad or dirty. And really, the problem is no, we just weren't allowed to, too. And
Yeah. I mean, I think we normalize men masturbating. It's something that men do. Their anatomical features make it easier for them to masturbate because it's there,
yeah.
literally there. And I think for women, it's more hidden. Our sexual anatomy is not in plain sight for us unless you're looking at a mirror or literally touching yourself to explore. But We have the clitoris, which has over 10,000 nerve endings, which are solely meant for pleasure. So
Mhm.
if we break through that shame, that intimidation, the social narratives that women aren't supposed to touch themselves there, that they're not supposed to self-pleasure, and we start that exploration process from this place of self-love. I want to
Mhm.
mention self-love because it is February and I want to turn the mirror to ourselves. It is an incredible and beautiful act of self-love, self-pleasure is, I believe.
Yes. The more we get to
Mhm.
know ourselves, the more we can share it to
Exactly.
improve things. And so I do really, like you had asked originally, like, how do you overcome this whole masturbation and the shame that comes around all of this? Again, that's why I wanted Oboo to be so welcoming. And I really do have a whole health aspect on every product for women to really understand that it's okay to feel good. And for so long, we've put this to the side. And
Yeah.
so screw the shame. Like, no more shame. Like, so
Yeah.
many things that we were taught to feel shame about. And if you really think about it, you're like, what's so wrong with that?
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
can get rid of that thought and have another one that makes us feel really good.
What are customers telling you about how these tools have changed their relationship to their bodies?
I hear a lot of, like, my mom, I never knew. I think that's like the best one. And for women to realize at any age that they can feel so great by parts that they've had their whole life. Like, that is so awesome. Other women are taking more time for themselves in understanding what a difference that makes for their stress levels, for their cortisol levels, right? You can reduce all of those things just by spending time with yourself and recognizing how things feel and paying attention instead of just going through the motions all of the time. So
Mm.
I just want for every woman to feel amazing. And I want for all of them to know that they can with the parts that they have.
Exactly. I love the tagline you use in your branding. Desire doesn't disappear in midlife. It just needs better lighting, better language, and better tools. Can you break that down for us? What does each of those three things actually mean?
I think better lighting is more about shedding light on it,
Uh,
more about understanding exactly what desire is and what stimulates desire. I think reframing things to be different from, again, what we were taught. So, better lighting is like being open to it. Better language is talking about it, talking
Yes.
about it with not just your partner. If it feels uncomfortable to talk about it with your partner, talk about it with your friends. Open the conversation. Don't be afraid to do it because I bet you a lot of them are in the same exact boat. And that again goes back to the shame that we don't want to talk about maybe things that aren't working so right because we think everybody else is working so right, but they're
Mhm,
probably not. And if
mhm.
we talk about it, if we share what works for us, then we can say, oh my gosh, I haven't tried that. I'm going to try that. And we can learn from each other and learn what really feels good. One of the bundles that I have is called the Pleasure Trio. And I was really promoting this over Christmas time. It allows you to buy 3 vibrators, share 2 with your friends, and then make sure to reconnect and talk about it and talk about what felt good and maybe something new that you tried that you didn't know was so pleasurable. And then the right tools that goes to things don't always feel like they used to. Before, maybe our partners could stimulate us, maybe our hand could stimulate us. Those outer nerves aren't as sensitive, maybe, but that doesn't mean the inner nerves aren't, because they are. So if you need a tool like a vibrator to feel it, that's okay. It's just like if we need contacts for our eyes or a brace for our carpal tunnel. So it's okay to use tools to help you and release that shame too. Just because it worked one way before doesn't mean that using a vibrator is a failure or something bad.
And it's so, I feel, inherent as part of our anatomy. In doing my research around vibrators, I learned that anatomically, our vulva has different nerves that respond to touch, to
Mhm.
tactile touch, and other nerves that respond to vibration. And it's probably those nerves that respond to vibration that still remain more intact or that are still more accessible to us as we move through the menopause transition. And that's why vibrators are incredible tools
Yeah.
to assist us in maintaining our sexual health and elevating our pleasure in midlife. They are go to tools for midlife women. And that's why I'm so excited that you have started a company that speaks to this. I also found some research from the Kinsey Institute
Mhm.
that found that women ages 40 to 65 rated self pleasure at 4.35 out of 5 for symptom relief. That's higher than many lifestyle changes that they were told to make. So they rated it higher than movement, than nutrition, than some of the other lifestyle modifications. So we're talking improved mood, better sleep, natural lubrication, pain relief, and even fewer hot flashes were reported in that research by the
Yeah.
Kinsey Institute. And we've talked about the beauty of the clitoris, how it purely exists for pleasure, and how the nerves of the vulva and the clitoris in midlife are more sensitive or more open to vibration. That 5 to 10 minutes of external vibration a few days a week can do wonders. I wanted to talk to you about your pleasure reset.
Mhm.
You developed this concept called the pleasure reset. And for someone hearing about it for the first time here, what is it and why did you create it?
Well, it's just the idea, and I thought it would be really perfect at the start of the year for us to just take that 5 minutes, like you mentioned, of pressure free self pleasure. And pressure free is the key word there. So there's no goal involved, there's no orgasm requirements, and also no performance because we're doing it with ourselves. We don't need to perform for ourselves. And like we were saying earlier, for so many women, pleasure has become loaded with so many expectations. So if we are able to have a reset in our mind too, we can reframe pleasure and we can reframe it more as a regulation, as reconnection with ourselves, and even as self trust. We can
Mm.
know our bodies better and trust our bodies more and rely on them for more things. So I feel like 5 minutes is really doable and it's pressure free. You asked, how do we get rid of the shame and get over the hurdle that masturbation might be bad or is shameful? I wish every doctor would prescribe it. And I think I saw Dr. Rachel Rubin, I think she did a post about it at one point, and I was like, yes, please. Yes, please prescribe this because I think if our doctors prescribe it, then maybe more women would be like, oh, yeah, I got to go have a pleasure reset or take an Oboo break. It's easy to do. You can start with just how you want to feel. And that's the key thing. It's how you want to feel, not how you should feel, right?
Mhm.
I think we have so many shoulds in our life. Let's throw that away too. How do we want to feel? And then we can start with just ourselves in touch or using the tool. We can start real gently or it can get intense. And we get to decide and we get to teach ourselves what really feels good.
I love that. That's so beautiful. And you also have other products to enhance that whole journey. So I know you have lubricants, moisturizers, you have a beautiful arousal balm I saw on
Mhm,
your website.
mhm.
Can you talk to us how you would use those tools in conjunction with the vibrators? Because I think it's important for our listeners to understand that yeah, you can make this more comfortable. If you're brand new to using vibrators, there are ways to enhance and make the whole journey so much more comfortable. And that's where those other products come in to
Yeah.
play.
Yeah. And I always feel like comfort first, right?
Yes,
Comfort, then go to the next step. So I worked with this woman out of San Diego. She's so wonderful. And she knows every single thing about every plant. So we worked on a natural and organic formulation for Oboo's lubricant. And also, this is what our vulva balm looks like. And we have daily versions because they're not just lubricants, they're also moisturizers for your vulva and for your vagina. And we also have the arousal versions. There's just one slight difference in those two, and that is peppermint oil.
Mhm.
The natural peppermint oil that starts to help with the tingle, and the tingle then could help with the blood flow. I do want to say first, like, I do not think these replace vaginal estrogen or your hormones. Like, I am such a big hormone fan and it's helped me tremendously. So I'm not saying this is your solve, but I will tell you that everything feels better with lube. Even if you think you don't have a problem, even if you think you're super moist and wet, use the lube and it's going to feel even better. I really believe that. I also would always recommend lube for the external vibrations too. It just feels so good. The
Yeah.
ingredients in these are all, like I said, all natural botanicals, lots of oils, lots of real hydrating and moisturizing botanicals that are going to help with your tissues. So, like I said, you can use them every day. And one of my favorite ingredients in all of these is natural orange oils. But what that does, and it makes me so happy, it not only, and natural orange oil helps with inflammation. And a lot of us, maybe after the fact, have some inflammation going on. So it helps with that, some anti inflammatory. But orange also is your sacral chakra awakener. It taps into your libido. So, from an energetic sense, just the scent of this, and again, it's all natural. It's not a man-made scent. It's orange. Will help stimulate that part of you that really wants to wake up.
So the sacral chakra is that base, is that pelvic floor
Your
chakra.
pelvic floor. And that's where your
Mhm.
creativity lives. And that's where your libido lives. And it's where we carry all of our past trauma and triggers and everything. So we need to clear out our sacral chakra, right? We need to clear out
Mhm.
that area and welcome in new experiences
Mm.
to feel good and get rid of, the stress and all of the other things that we carry around and hold down in our pelvic bowl.
Yeah, so it's a more that orange oil is more of an energetic kind of cleansing and release
Mhm.
of that
That's
space.
what I like to think of it as. That wasn't like when we originally created it, it wasn't for that. It was for the anti-inflammatories. But then I was like, oh my gosh, I learned about it afterwards. And I think that's the best part of it. So the
So
daily does have like a citrusy awakening scent, and
Mhm.
the arousal has more of a peppermint scent, but it still does include the oil. I was thinking about the arousal balm. You
Mhm.
put it on your vulva maybe 5-10 minutes before playtime, and it does start making things tingle and trigger things. So I was thinking about doing an experiment where I would use it every day, the arousal one, just to see if my blood flow stays straight down there, even if I'm not playing.
And it's a tiny amount, right? It's a tiny amount of
Mm.
peppermint oil, so
No,
just enough to
just a
create
little
that little bit of
trigger. This
tingling.
is what it looks like,
Mhm.
and you just use a small amount on your
Mhm.
vulva every day. And it's so emollient. It's really good for your hands too.
And the lubricant, is it safe to use with the toys?
Yep, it's water-based. It's pH
Water-based.
balanced. So water-based is what they say is the safe one to use with toys. If they don't use silicone-based, because the toys are all body-safe silicone, and those two things interact with each other over time. I think if you used it once or twice with silicone-based, it'd be okay, but over time, you probably don't want to do that because it might break down the silicone coating of the vibrator.
Okay, and those are all on your site,
Yeah.
and you sell them in bundles right in time for Valentine's Day. So if you
Mhm.
want to gift yourself the gift of pleasure, definitely head over to the Oboo site and take a look at those beautiful bundles.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, because it's a little different from other sites, it's at oboo.love. There was a love ending instead of .com.
Oh, yay. I love that.
It's like,
Yes.
"Oh my gosh, I have to get that."
Oboo.love, that's the name of your
Mhm,
website. I've heard you say something else, or it's on your website, that really resonated with me. And in midlife, desire responds better to invitation than expectation.
mhm.
Can you unpack that for us? How is desire different now in midlife than it was in our 20s and 30s?
Well, we've heard all about the spontaneous desire
Mhm.
versus what is the other one? I never can remember the word. Responsive.
Responsive, yes.
Remember. So spontaneous desire is back in the day when we could just look at somebody and be totally turned on, right? And responsive desire is more about having triggers to get you in the mood. And I think that's what a lot of us have nowadays. It's not like when we first fell in love anymore. So we need the invitation. We need to feel certain ways. And I think it's different for every woman. But for me, if my husband is sitting on the couch and burping and then says, "Hey, you want to go?" I'm like, No, like that doesn't interest me at all. Or if I'm doing everything around the house and he's also sitting on the couch, which that is usually not the case, but that wouldn't trigger desire in me, right?
Mhm.
But if we're up together and he's rubbing my back and we're in the kitchen cooking together and we're doing things that is maybe a little more helpful to each other, that's how my responsive desire comes on. Also, if I'm skiing with him for some reason, there's something there. Like, he's such a good
Ah.
skier.
You live in Colorado, right? So
Yes.
that's nice. So that's very accessible.
Mhm. But
Yeah.
really it is like giving yourself more time to respond. You
Yeah.
can't expect again like it's going to be like it used to be. And that's
Mhm.
okay. It's okay. It's normal.
You mentioned something really sweet, which I love, which is, yeah, engaging practices that you find turn you on about your partner, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah, you're like, okay, let's go skiing because maybe it's about the physicality, seeing his
Mhm.
body move in that very physical way is a turn on for you. You know what it is for me? Seeing my husband cook in the kitchen and clean up. I
Mhm.
mean, really, it's just I love because I don't see that part of him. He's always been like work in the office, which I don't see that side
Yes.
of him, but like seeing him relax and really enjoy and
Mhm.
cook and put on an apron and, and the
And
cooking and really cook. And I don't know, I love it. And then he cleans up the mess. I mean, of course, I'm helping along. That
yes.
I don't know. It's something about the physicality, something about the communal aspect of it that we're doing
Mhm.
something that's going to give us pleasure. Food. We're feeding ourselves something that's so enjoyable.
I think for many of us, we just don't notice these things anymore.
Yes.
And we have to start really noticing and being like, oh, that is really pretty sweet. And
Yes.
that,
And reminding your partner, when you do that, when you make that
Mhm.
meal for me, it's such a turn on and just makes me feel so close and connected to you. Because I feel it's, yeah, you're looking after me, you're taking care of me. And that
Mhm.
feels so good to me. And for a lot of women, we need to feel safe and cared for when we engage in that level of intimacy with a partner.
And many of us take on everything.
Yes, I know.
Mhm.
We need to have that conversation with our partners,
Yeah.
letting them know what makes us feel safe, intimate, and closer and more open to connection with them.
Mhm.
You talked about two of the vibrators, the Smooch and the Ooh. I know you have others. Choosing the right vibrator is about really understanding your preferences, what kind of stimulation you like. What should women consider, like whether they prefer external or internal stimulation, gentle or intense vibrations? What advice do you have for women who are trying to choose the right vibrator to start with?
Yeah, I think it's kind of where you're at and what you used or not used before. And maybe if you know self-stimulation feels really good, but you can't quite get there anymore, then you choose more of an external vibrator with a clitoral function. Or if you feel like internal stimulation is where you're at, we have a lot of different choices for that. And as I mentioned, there's heat involved that can help. A lot of women have, they don't call it atrophy anymore, but it is kind of a closing and tightness. And so maybe internal stimulation doesn't feel good. Maybe there's pain with it. And we have some tools that can help with that. This one is the whoosh.
The whoosh. Okay.
Pretty bendy. This one has heat to it here. So you just turn, I don't know if you can see that, it's kind of bright. You turn on the bottom one and the top one, and then it will start to heat up. And if you just kind of start using this a little bit at the entry of your vagina and start getting used to that, and then slowly allowing it in a little bit further and a little bit further, let this do the stretching for you. It also can stimulate your clitoris on the outside. That might be a nice way to reintroduce internal pleasure and internal penetration for you. And then, of course, we have bigger ones.
Mm-hmm.
Boom.
The boom. Okay.
Boom. Drop the mic. Right? So this has two motors. It has a motor on top, and this is good for that full vulva stimulation. And then also motor on the bottom. This is the side that heats, and you're able to use it internally.
Oh, okay. So that one heats as well.
Mm-hmm.
The boom. Okay. I love that. I love the multifunctionality of your tools. That's so great.
Yeah. And then, we have everything in between. We have small little bullets just to stimulate outside. We have an anal vibrator called Moon. Isn't that appropriate? Moon.
Yes.
And it's actually 3 different little progressively bigger plugs for the anus. And as you mentioned, your clitoris goes all the way back on the inside there. And a lot of people really enjoy anal clitoral stimulation. So for people who maybe want to try something new or try something they've never tried before, that's an option too. And here's something that was really interesting to me about when I was starting this business. I was talking to different sex therapists and marriage counselors about what they see, what they talk to their clients about. And one of the marriage counselors suggested to me that we have an anal option because that is something that a lot of couples are trying nowadays, which I would have had no idea about that. But it is something that people are more open to, and that feels really good.
Wow, I'm curious now. What I also notice about all your tools is that they're super soft. You showed us there how some of them are super bendy.
Yeah.
So making them really safe to use, especially if you haven't tried things like anal stimulation or you're very hesitant about pleasuring internally. And then that bendy, flexible quality also makes it enjoyable to use.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Amy, we're coming up on Valentine's Day, and I think so many women are focused on what gift they'll receive from a partner or how they'll show up for others. But what if this year we flip the script? What would you say to a woman who's considering giving herself the gift of self-pleasure this Valentine's season? How can she reframe this as the ultimate act of self-love?
I know, that's what I was holding up. Treat yourself. I hope you guys can read that. Yes. And you know what? You can reclaim you. You can reclaim what makes you feel good. You can reclaim these parts that we so often ignore and really figure out your own amazing. I also think we're magic. I think we are magic, and we can work so much magic using our pleasure centers.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And so how do we make a pleasure practice feel like a gift to ourselves rather than one more thing on our already overwhelming to-do list? What advice do you have for women who feel guilty for taking 5 minutes for themselves?
one thing I'm pretty sure of is a lot of you are taking 5 minutes to scroll,
Oh my God.
right? Or a lot longer. Imagine if you put the phone down or put on your favorite Spotify playlist and just sit with yourself and start noticing what your body feels like when you touch it in different ways. I think that is such a gift to yourself. It's not selfish. And also, this is another thing I've been pondering. Why is selfish a bad word? It shouldn't be. Like, right? Like we can be selfish. When we're selfish, we can give more to others, right?
Exactly.
When we
Exactly.
feel better about ourselves, we're able to share that. So think of it like that. That's
Mm.
a way you're able to just have some pressure-free time with yourself to feel really good. It's good for your health. It's good for your stress levels. It's good for your sleep. And it's loving yourself and saying thank you to this body that has carried you for your whole entire life. And it's okay to do 5 minutes, girl. 5 minutes.
I want to start a campaign to get women to stop scrolling and start self-pleasuring. Yes, let's do that, Amy.
Let's do that together. That'd be so fun.
Amy, this conversation has been such a gift. Thank you for your candidness, your openness, your courage in creating Oboo, for your generosity in supporting women like those at my event, and for being so open about a topic that can still feel taboo for so many. For listeners who want to learn more about Oboo, where can they go?
They can go to oboo.love, Love, OBOO. I don't think we shared, but Oboo was created from the words orgasm boost. So hopefully
Oh,
that's the way
okay.
you guys can remember it. Oboo.love.
Okay, I'll make sure to include that in the show notes. And I know that you have a blog piece on your site about the pleasure reset, which we spoke about earlier. So I'm going to include a link to that blog if anyone needs a reminder. As we head into Valentine's Day, I want to leave everyone with this. The most important love story you'll ever nurture is the one with yourself.
Mhm.
Your pleasure is not a luxury, it's essential to your health and vitality. So, this Valentine season, give yourself permission to prioritize your pleasure, not as something selfish, or maybe as something selfish, as we talked about,
Selfish is
but
okay.
really as a radical act of self love. And if this episode opened your eyes to new possibilities for reclaiming your sexual wellness during midlife, please share it with a friend who needs to hear this message. Thank you, Amy, so much for coming on to Pleasure in the Pause to talk about the business of pleasure and reclaiming our pleasure in midlife. I really appreciate this conversation so much.
Same with me. Thank you so much, Gabriella.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of Pleasure in the Pause. Want to help me spread more pleasure in the world? Please hit subscribe to the podcast and share this episode with a friend, a sister, or any woman you care about. Because when we share these conversations, we remind each other we are not alone. Together, we create ripples of empowerment and support that reach far beyond ourselves. Your support means the world to me. Thank you. Remember, your pleasure matters. The information shared on this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. Always consult your healthcare provider before making any decisions about your health or treatment. The views expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the host or Pleasure in the Pause.